Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. We are speaking with Kat Abughazaleh. Excited to have you here, Kat. You've been running a phenomenal campaign, and I'm glad you're here to talk about it.
Yeah, it's, really hard, as you know, and especially as a first-time candidate, it's even harder, but it's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done for sure.
I'm glad you used that word rewarding because that's exactly how I felt. It's exhausting. It's painful. There's immense sacrifice, personal privacy, financial sacrifice, but it's also rewarding to see like this is what democracy looks like. This is how democracy works. I like to start these interviews with kind of the first question of talk about your superhero origin story. What was the moment when you're like, this crap sucks. We got to fix it, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run. I'm going to run for office.
Yeah, so, I've had people ask, like, where because I grew up Republican, and they were like, "So where did you get your values?" And a lot of it comes from stories. I think stories are the greatest thing that humans have ever created, and when I was about 15, my family and I realized when Trump started running for president that, like, our values didn't really align with, uh, this party that we claim to be a part of, and especially the fact that they don't give a crap about Palestinians. But everyone that I admired were people that just, like, really stuck to their values even to their own detriment, and so I wanted to dedicate my life to de-radicalization and, anti-extremism work, and so that's what I did. I graduated in May 2020, I started working at Media Matters covering Fox News. I've been deposed by Elon Musk. I lost my job because of Elon Musk. My specialty was Tucker Carlson. Our team played a part in getting him fired from Fox News. I was very happy with my job freelancing, but I after Trump was inaugurated, I was like, "Well, Democrats are gonna do something, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna do something, right?" And I was just ranting to my boyfriend and our cat every single day, and eventually I was like, "Okay, well, I'll do it then, because no one's gonna save us. We are who saves us."
I'm picturing the Thanos meme where he says, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
Literally that, and it was I had this large platform that, yes, I built myself with my own reporting and my analysis and my video content, but it's, like, such a privilege to have even then, and so we were able to really try new things, to have, like, an completely unashamed progressive campaign, to use our resources differently, to, like, do some different events. I think we're the only campaign ever to have, 2 mosh pits at separate campaign events,
That's amazing.
um, and then also to, like, be able to be a true grassroots campaign. We're the only one in a race of 16 where the majority of our donations are small dollar.
Yeah, I was chatting with someone in a team offline. 60,000 donations to the campaign. Talk
Yeah.
about that. That's I've never heard of that happening in a congressional race. Insane.
Yeah, especially for, like, a first-time candidate who I never been in elected office. I don't think that everyone in Congress should be a 26-year-old journalist, but I do think we need a diversity of background, and it seems like a lot of people agree. And so we have our average donation is still $32.
Right.
We It's just been incredible how many people have, resonated with this campaign and also being able to show and not tell the Democratic establishment, like, this is how you use new media in this age, and it's not the only thing. You can't just run a campaign online, but you can use it as a tool, whether it's from fundraising, whether it's from advertising, whether it's from our Discord server, which has real life volunteer implications, both remote and local. This is what you can do to actually connect with young people and to reach as many folks as possible. Because older people use social media. My mom's on TikTok. My dad watches YouTube.
Yep.
We'll see if you listen.
I'm going to ask you about viability in a second, but I want to step back for a moment. For those just tuning in, we're speaking with Kat Abughazaleh, running for U.S. Congress in Illinois' ninth Congressional District. Primary is just a couple of weeks away, so we're in the home stretch. I don't know how you're still awake right now. You're probably getting off of 1 hour of sleep a night, but
I also have narcolepsy, which is fun.
which probably doesn't help the situation at all. But before we get to viability, I want to talk about one of the bizarre kind of accusations, I guess is the best word I can make, which is not true from everything I've seen. And even if it was true, who cares? But this idea that you're an influencer who just decided one day I'm going to use my influencing abilities, right? Yeah, that head bob. But you've answered this that look, there's nothing wrong with being an influencer, but I'm a goddamn journalist. Like, can you talk a bit more about this? Like, where did this start from, and why does this persist at all?
I think a lot of it just comes from sexism. I'm a young woman, and just like in any field, especially ones that are public facing, that young women dominate first or are able to use for their own independence first. people like to downplay it, like to denigrate it. The same thing happened with like computer science, by the way. That was considered like a feminine job and talked down upon. This has happened in so many industries. And I actually don't watch video. My friends call my TikTok algorithm NPC algorithm. I will look up a transcript on a YouTube video because I prefer reading rather than watching. But most people don't. Most people get their information through video. And so I realized that in late 2022, early 2023. And so I had a lot of experience as a video editor. And I said, okay, I like communicating. I want to talk how I would want someone to talk to me. Let me try to educate people on why their batshit uncle thinks that, won't board a flight if the pilot is a black woman. And like where this comes from 4chan to Fox News to the House floor to his ears. And they really resonated with people. People liked that style of communication. And just because it is a new style of communication doesn't mean it's worth any less. I always encourage people to watch my hour-long video explainer on the history of white Christian nationalism and its ties to Project 2025, which I did with People for the American Way. I've actually never taken a sponsorship in my life, which proud to say so. But it's truly like people, and I don't want to be associated with Ezra Klein, but people don't say this about Ezra Klein, you
No.
know?
Yeah. They really don't. I mean, I think that nuance is important, and I think it's also a combination of the fact that while corporate media has basically collapsed and trust in corporate media has collapsed and local journalism has become anemic just because there's no funding for it, we want new forms of media, but people don't realize what the new forms of media look like. And so the easy solution is, oh, well, she's just an influencer. And it's like, well, no, she's a journalist and she's creating original content and doing investigative work that is actually combating fascism. It's okay to enjoy the journalism that you watch. It doesn't, there's a difference between the entertainment, pseudo journalism that Fox News has, and actually interesting, engaging content that you're putting out there. So I wanted to address that because that's one question that I've received, and I figured there's no better way to address it than just to ask you directly on our platform.
I
Let's
also want to plug real quick
Yeah,
as someone that cares a lot about misinformation and disinformation and has like all of this work has been with reputable newsrooms. Some of the best newsrooms that you can find right now are nonprofit ones. So I worked for Media Matters, Mother Jones, People for the American Way. If you are looking for good sources, I highly recommend starting with nonprofit newsrooms like ProPublica and then finding uh, sources that you trust and then looking at who they trust, who they follow, who they platform.
I very much believe in heaven, and I think there's a special place in heaven for everyone at ProPublica. Like, I love that outlook.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They're fantastic. Let's talk about viability because this is a big race with a bajillion people running, and I've studied a lot of the candidates, and they're all. I mean, a lot of them are really good candidates. In the top three, in my view, you are the only viable one um, because of a couple of issues. One, APAC. Two, corporate money. And three, when we talk about everything from ICE to the Gaza genocide, can you just spend a few minutes talking about the viability aspect and what really distinguishes you from your colleagues who are in the top 3 in polling?
Yeah, so I think that this race is a perfect example of why we need ranked choice voting because there are a lot of progressives in this race, and I think that's fantastic. But we don't even have a runoff in this race.
Yeah,
Whoever gets the most, someone could win with 20% of the vote, and that
yeah.
could be us. And frankly, I think, and I would hope that everyone in this race would rather not win with ranked choice voting than win this way. But that's where we are. And right now, based on, and once again, unfortunate, this is how campaigns work right now. And I want to work to change that. But based on fundraising, based on polling, and based on just how these campaigns have shaken out, there are three viable candidates myself, Daniel Biss, and Laura Fine. Laura Fine's campaign would not have survived without APAC. They are pouring millions into ads. They just released one against me that has a bunch of AI slop and is really weird. They quote my high school paper twice,
Wow.
which can you believe APAC attacking children?
They're
What?
quoting your high school paper, so somehow 15-year-old Kat is now
Hey,
responsible.
hey, 16, 16.
16, sorry, that's
A
insane.
full-grown woman.
That's according to the people in the Epstein files, that's like full grown, 16, that's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's and
Horrifying.
because I was like, "Oh, well, I'm, questioning the Republican Party, but I don't wanna completely betray it, so maybe Marco Rubio is the answer," which, like, as the many things 16-year-olds say is idiotic. But, I would hope that, the deposition, the federal indictment, devoting my life to progressive politics has, shown that I am less
Well,
idiotic.
the other irony is that AIPAC has donated to Marco Rubio as much as anybody. So if that's what's upsetting them, why the hell are they donating to Marco Rubio? The other thing that bothers me is the AI slop, like the fact that
Yes.
they're just being cheap about this, and AI is ultimately generated off of actual artists' content. So they're not only being kind of creepy by attacking a child, but they're also being deceptive by using AI. I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, without any disclaimer, and, like, we made our own attack ad against ourselves, and we didn't use any AI, so we offered to APAC, "You can air this for free." Um,
The
but,
self-attack was ingenious.
but Laura Pine is the APAC candidate, and Daniel Biss is, not, but AIPAC has been railing against him because he said we should condition some aid to Israel. It's very much like a New Jersey 11 situation. But that's not an endorsement of his foreign policy. It is a fact of just how far to the right AIPAC has gone.
Right.
Um, I mean, out of those 3 candidates, I am the only one that has never met with or submitted a position paper to AIPAC. I'm the only one that doesn't support federal anti-BDS legislation. I'm the only one that thinks we should have a full arms embargo, and yes, that includes defensive weapons because that's leverage. We aren't
Yeah.
just trying to offset the cost to weapons. And this would apply to any ally, by the way. This would
Yeah.
apply to any country we're giving military aid to, whether it's Israel or Mexico. But for some reason, this is a carve out for both of those candidates. And frankly, APAC is glad that there are so many people in this race. They actually, in a red box on Laura Fine's website, were comparing her and one of the progressive candidates in this race without their consent because they want to try to split that vote. And it's disappointing, but that's where we're at.
We're speaking with Kat Abughazaleh running for U.S. Congress in Illinois' 9th Congressional District on domestic policies. I mean, your stance on foreign policy is pretty clear: end the genocide, end these never-ending wars, stop this war in Iran, which is illegal, and just all the justifications are horrifying. Domestically, let's talk. You're elected, you're in office, you're sworn in. The vote for Speaker of the House comes up. Are you voting yes on Hakeem Jeffries?
No. I have said that if I vote for a Speaker of the House, they have to, in this moment, it could be totally different in a year because things change every 30 seconds, but they need to support the Block the Bombs Act. They need to support banning stock trading while forcing individual members to sell their individual stocks and pressure the Democratic Party to do the same. And they need to support abolishing and prosecuting ICE. I would also say right now, uh, not giving any funding to this illegal and immoral war in Iran. If Hakeem Jeffries sorry. If Hakeem Jeffries wants to just, like, change all of his priorities, then maybe I give him a shot because I do believe people can change.
Yes.
But these are things I'm gonna say very publicly, and unless I have, that promise, then I won't vote for you, and I highly doubt that that promise will be made.
The Democratic Party went from being a party of working class folks to now it's being labeled as a party of elitists. And when we look at history, we kind of see a shift over, the Clinton era to the Obama era to the Biden era, where it became more and more kind of entrenched in corporate money and corporate PAC money. Citizens United made that even worse, where they kind of said, "Well, we got to fight fire with fire, so let's just buy in." Can you pinpoint, or in your view, is there a moment where you were like, "This is where the Democratic Party jumped the shark, and this is where we need massive reform to get it back to being a party of working class people"?
This is such a good question, especially considering I wasn't a Democrat till 2016. Um, but, I mean, I think a big part of it is honestly, in the Biden administration, the continual willingness to, uh, either undermine or fully block legislation just in the name of compromise, in the name of bipartisanship, without turning the screws on Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. Like, we don't have the John Lewis Voting Rights Act passed, and that was because we were like, "Well, we need unity here." We don't need unity if it undermines our basic rights because the vast majority of people don't want that. The vast majority of people don't want ICE. For the first time in its existence, support abolishing ICE. But I feel like if this was, 2022, we'd be hearing the argument, well, if everything had happened and we still have that same administration, like, it's bad, but obviously we need to reform it, and we don't wanna, like, completely abandon what the Republican Party wants when the vast majority of people want to abolish ICE. That is not compromise. Compromise is not getting your hand cut off and being grateful they left you your pinky.
Yeah. No, well said. Let's spend some more time on ICE right now. We're seeing this massive purchasing by the federal government to basically build these concentration camps. Um, if you're in power, what do you, or actually, let me step back. What do you want to see the Democratic Party leadership do right now to counter this and to recognize the urgency of the moment?
Completely block everything. The fact that we're arguing about reforming ICE, body cameras aren't gonna help. All it would have done in Renee Good's murder is allowed him to murder her with 2 hands because he was filming the entire time. Like, this is not something you can't reform the secret police. You can't reform that. They are the secret police, and they need to be tried, not just disbanded, but tried. And DHS's powers, needs to be fully dismantled, and their powers need to be returned to the original departments that they apply to, like state, like treasury, like transportation, like justice. Um, so Democrats need to hardball this, play hardball. It feels like they're allergic to the idea of leverage. There is not a we should not move a single ounce on this. You guys want funding? Cool. Guess what? We're not giving a single cent to ICE. This argument about whether we should continue to fund DHS or ICE, when we've already, the Republicans have allocated $75 billion to it, it's already funded.
Yeah.
And I want to work to take those funds back and put it towards education and healthcare. But it's already funded. Why are we arguing about this? Why are we even acting as if this is a worthy argument when it's not? Um, Also, I think a big part of this is, like, we need to be exploiting every part of this system and not like, yeah, it might be rude to stand up during the State of the Union and yell at Trump, but guess what? Make a scene. I think every single Democrat should have been getting dragged out of there with Al Green. Like, it does matter. And especially if earlier on we were doing this, fascists are weak. Like, this is what I study. This is why I wanna go to Congress. This is why I don't wanna be in Congress forever. I would not be running if it wasn't this exact moment. But Democrats do not understand the far right. They don't understand fascists. And especially early on, if we had called them on their bluff more and more often, they would have had to back down or cause a national scandal. Like when Elon Musk marched his army of teenage incels to the Treasury Department, every Democrat should have been arm in arm in front of every entrance and every exit and called their bluff. And I think he would have backed down, but they
Yeah.
didn't.
I agree, and I mean, and to go even a step further back from that, if Merrick Garland had the testicular fortitude to do his goddamn job and prosecute Trump the way he should have, then we wouldn't be in this mess. But he was so married to norms, and if Joe Biden had, he said the buck stops with me, and I people get upset when I talk about Biden because like he's just a sweet old man. I'm like, no,
No.
he's a president. Don't infantilize the most powerful politician on earth. He ran in 2020 saying the soul of America is at stake. Trust me to save the soul of America. And what did he do? He ran a presidency that ultimately landed right back with Trump. And I think we need to have an honest conversation about why that model is so broken. And the people who refuse to acknowledge that are fundamentally part of the problem. It's
Yeah.
okay to acknowledge that Joe Biden messed up big time. It's okay. In fact, it's smart to acknowledge that because that's how we move forward. And I want to make another point about returning the power back to where it originally was. A lot of folks don't realize that immigration enforcement was not a DHS issue. It was a Department of Labor matter
Yeah.
because we need immigrants to maintain our economy. They even undocumented immigrants contribute more than $100 billion a year in taxes. And so, anyway, quick rant. I wanted to get that out. Co-sign that.
Please.
What does the first one or two major priorities look like for you? You're in Congress, you're sworn in. What are the first couple of bills that you're focused on getting passed?
Well, first off, it's not a bill, but we have funds to do this no matter the president. I want to make constituent services as accessible as they can be because as Trump eliminates our material needs, it'll be really important that we are trying to fill in the gaps, anyone with power, platform, or privilege. So, like right now in our campaign, we actually use our resources to help folks right now. All of our events are accessible no matter your income. Many of them double as ways to serve the community. Our campaign office doubles as a mutual aid hub. And we would want the same to apply to, our government offices as well, that people can come in and get what they need and working in partnership with direct action and mutual aid organizations on the ground. So when you contact constituent services, the answer isn't just call the city or call the state, which isn't their fault, but we can give direct help that the government might not be able to in this moment. But I also want to institute a chat feature, which feels like should be in every congressional office in the year 2026, being able to submit a virtual ticket. I want to be the first office in the country to do that because I think it can make constituent services way more accessible. I also want to spearhead AI regulation. There are currently 0 federal regulations for AI, and I do think this is somewhere we can get bipartisan support on. I mean, in Trump's big BS bill, that was the one thing that even Republicans, when he said we couldn't regulate AI at the state level for 10 years, even Republicans were like, "Jesus Christ, that's crazy." So when it comes to regulating AI, that means get AI out of schools, creating legislation that forces these companies to find a way to have their data centers work without using our drinking water, and it has to be on their dime, and they have to institute these changes on their dime. Passing the No Fakes Act and protecting people's work so AI isn't just a plagiarism machine, also having consequences for using someone's likeness without their permission, and then applying the make polluters pay movement to AI as well and data centers. Also, when your phone asks if you accept cookies when like you open Safari, I want to create legislation that forces companies to ask users to opt in to their data being used to train large language models. This would put control right back in users' hands, and I think that's really essential. Also, reversing Trump's tariffs and ensuring that people are refunded for the money that has been stolen from us. But also ensuring that in this legislation, we are not allowing companies that have essentially shorted the market to say that these tariffs would be deemed unconstitutional to get paid out
Yeah,
because these tariffs got like it's just making the rich richer. It's absolutely ridiculous.
it's well
Uh,
frustrating.
Additionally, three other like smaller things that we're not gonna get a ton of progressive legislation through with this Supreme Court and this president, but 3 things that I do wanna try to push through in the next 2 years, get us on standard time all the time. Why are we on winter time? This sucks. No one likes it. Think of how popular that would be.
Sure.
Banning declawing and debarking unless deemed medically necessary by the veterinarian at the federal level. Uh, Pretty popular, seems like something that could be pushed through. And then finally, I know there's tons of lobbying on this front, but I personally hate TurboTax. We have to because of lobbying, we're like the only country in the world that does this. The government knows how much we owe, but we have to pay money to a company so that way we can give the government more money. It's BS. Everyone hates it. Let's get rid of it.
Love it. These are, and this kind of dovetails to the next question because you've already touched on a lot of these things. But when it comes to issues of economic justice, I think to me, this is the core of what a government needs to do. Everything to me stems from economic justice. If you want to talk about, racial justice, pay reparations. You want to talk about women's rights, equal pay for equal work. You want to talk about immigration, make sure we have a viable economic model for immigrants. You want to talk about, public safety, make sure people aren't in poverty because poverty helps enable crime. Well, I mean, this is a documented fact, and that's why over policing doesn't actually solve crime; it exacerbates it. What are some of the key economic justice initiatives that you want to focus on to bring down the cost of housing, to make healthcare more affordable, make food more affordable? How does that resonate with your policy and your strategy?
So almost 100 years ago, we were in this exact financial and political situation. We had rising fascism, we had the Great Depression, and oligarchs were consolidating all of the wealth. And we didn't get out of it with incrementalism and compromise. We got out of it with a whole government approach with the New Deal. And I think we need that now, not just like we need a Marshall Plan for the federal government or a New Deal. And basically, what I mean by that is we need to not be putting more money into war. We need to be absolutely pouring it into people's lives. This means building more housing with federal incentives to work with local businesses. This means ensuring that we have protections against price gouging. This means a single payer healthcare system with full vision, dental, mental, and hearing care. But it also means on this front, we have a doctor shortage and a nurse shortage. We need to be paying for medical school and ensuring that the people whose medical school we do pay for are put towards hospitals in underserved areas, often impoverished communities and rural communities where these hospitals have been shut down due to privatization. We can reopen these under the government and also ensure that we don't have this shortage anymore. It means addressing the intersectionality of all of these issues. Like, we can't talk about infrastructure and nationwide public transit without talking about climate. We can't talk about affordability without talking about how renewables cost less, or education without removing the lead pipes in Chicago schools. So we need to involve climate, groceries, affordability, healthcare. All of these things are absolutely related, and we have the money to do it. But we are the wealthiest country in the world. We need to tax billionaires out of existence. We need to institute a cost of living exemption for anyone making under $10 million a year. So that way this isn't like means tested. That way you aren't $100 short of meeting a benchmark. If you make under $10 million a year, every single part of your income under the federal cost of living, which should also be increased, wouldn't be taxed at all, as well as a federal minimum wage of $25 an hour. That's what we pay on our campaign because believe in standing by our values. And
Right.
my personal favorite policy on this is I think that we should start universal basic income programs with stay at home parents. This is one of the best ways that we can ensure that, like, being a stay at home parent, which disproportionately affects women, and because we don't have universal childcare, which is also essential here, means that they often have to quit their jobs. This would have more money in the pockets of families. It would also ensure that no one has to stay with an abusive partner or be in a marriage that they don't want to be in
Mhm.
because they can't afford it. And they would also have their own social security pot. So no matter what happens, they know that they are taken care of, no matter what happens later in life. It helps, decrease things like crime, and it would help invest in the future for children. This is like the best place to start universal basic income, and stay-at-home parents have the most invisible and unpaid labor in the world.
I don't know if you know this, Kat, but did you know that under Nixon, we were a couple of votes shy from passing universal basic income?
It makes my eye twitch.
Yeah,
Also daycare.
it's terrible that didn't pass, and the reason why it didn't pass is because of a made-up study that women would leave their husbands.
Yeah.
It was a made-up study. First of all, if the only thing, I mean, it proves the point that women are forced to remain in abusive relationships because of financial, um, uh, being like a financial hostage. But then it also, like, the fact that it was a made up study, like, it actually is true, but they made it up to try to prevent it from passing. I don't know. It bothers me to no end as well. I'm a huge fan of UBI. I definitely co-sign that. I mean, you're talking about a modern day FDR is what
Yeah,
we need. Not that he was perfect on everything, thing, but on economic justice, he absolutely got the right tone.
and his second Bill of Rights.
And same the rest. Yeah, it's what we need today. So, last question before we go. Um, these final 2 weeks, what's the campaign's focus? What are you guys trying to make sure you knock out this final couple weeks? I've been putting your link in the comments. People are responding that they're donating and second, third, and fourth time, which is exciting to see. How can folks get involved to support your campaign and help you sprint across this finish line? Because in case folks don't know, this is not a purple district. This is not a red district. This is a deep blue district. Whoever wins this primary is going to be our next congressperson from this district. So this is actually effectively the general election. How can folks support you and help you get across the finish line?
Right now, as Kasim knows, like, donating is great. It is one of the most effective things you can do right now, but the closer we get to the election, around, like, March 13th, any donations after that can't really effectively be utilized in the campaign because it's so close to election day. So donating right now at catforillinois.com would be incredible. We need to raise ideally, like, 150K over the next week and a half to effectively, do everything we want when it comes to ads and outreach. If you want to volunteer, you can do that remotely by phone banking or locally knocking doors or doing canvases. You can go to catforillinois.com/events or discord.gg/catforillinois. And if you're in Illinois, I will please, 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 please go to catforillinois.com/events and sign up for a REACH training. REACH is an app that essentially cross references your contacts with the voter database. So that means that you know every single person in your phone that can vote for me. And the best advocate for me to people in your life is you. So please sign up for that, catforillinois.com/events to sign up for our REACH training. It's super easy. And please donate at catforillinois.com. Send the link to some friends. Ask for them to pitch in what they can. Our average donation is $32. If you can do more, that's amazing. If you can't, that's fine.
Kat, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for running. I know this has been an immense toll, physically, mentally, spiritually, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're running. We need more young people running and being unapologetic about it. And
Wait, I didn't get to ask.
yeah.
Are you going to come to my federal trial on May 26th?
Oh, I'm just finding out right now that that's when it is. But yeah, I'll be there for moral support.
It's going to be really stupid.
I I I have a friend who's an Air Force veteran who, was charged very similarly, at the Broadview facility, and they wanted him to plea bargain out. He refused, and then they dropped the charges at the last second because they realized how ridiculous it actually was. So, sending you all the good vibes, and all the vibes. You have a platform here anytime you wanna come back, but, let's sprint. Guys, check her out at catforillinois.com. Kat, thank you for running, thank you for being here, and, we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Let's Address This with Qasim Rashid. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so we can continue to protect your human rights and our democracy. Peace out.